All right, for more on that conversation, we're joined now by Labour expert Michael Bagraim. Michael, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. You have been calling certainly for a thorough investigation of this particular matter ever since it surfaced. Now, two things that the minister says he seeks to do. One is to have the allegations tested in a court of law, but two is to have the agreement with Thuja Capital set aside. I mean, of course, the courts are the best place for this to be ventilated, do you think?
Well, it is the best place, but it's a year later. These allegations surfaced in December 2022. It was at that time that I already had asked the minister a question as to what's going on, what's happening over there, and we got silence. All we got in January 23, and remember this is almost a year later, we got the Director General, Lamati, saying, no, it's a good agreement, there's no problem with it. And he was then in a meeting with the minister who was present in that meeting. And the minister's known about this since December 22. He's now rushing to the court as a matter of urgency. And the only reason why he's doing it is the issue about the bribery allegations made against him for 500 million rand. This is not peanuts. We're talking about 5 billion and then 500 million that would go to the ministers who have been accused of doing this. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure who to believe. You know, when there's that old saying, we don't know who it is, but when thieves fall out, everything breaks loose. Now, I don't know who the thief is, but there's a lot going on, and this is not their money. It's not government money. This is money that belongs to the workers of South Africa who are suffering heavily because now the UIF is going to be plundered, basically. So we got 5 billion rand in that. What surfaced also is another 3 billion, as you heard the minister say. Now, it ill behoves a minister to come now and say, in terms of the section of the law, this is an agreement that's not valid. Why didn't he speak up? He was asked about it. He was silent. He kept telling us that it's under review. Another comment was that it's something that's subject to litigation, so he can't say anything. But I've been asking literally every single week during parliamentary sittings, I've been asking the minister to come clean, tell us about it. When Lamati, the Director General, resigned, we said, let's have his letter. Let's find out what's going on. You don't have to accept a resignation with no notice. The answer we got at one of the meetings was that, no, the director hasn't, nothing wrong with him. He's just sick. He can't come. But meanwhile, he had resigned already. Let's have a look. The minister must come clean. He must let us have a look at the letter of resignation. Lamati is a key man over here. He apparently was one of the people that signed this agreement. I don't believe that the Director General would have signed the agreement without the minister having a careful look at it. And then when the minister decided that he didn't like this, why didn't he come forward and tell South Africa, take South Africa into your confidence and say, listen, I've got someone holding me to ransom. This is bad news all around. We're not playing with 10 cents, and we're also not playing with their own 10 cents. Normally what we read about is that senior politicians are stealing state money. But this is not state money. This is the workers' money. And at last, the trade unions who have known about this for a year, at last the trade unions are now also shouting, saying what's going on. And as for Mr. Madwaba, they've known since 4 years ago, that he was declared by the High Court of South Africa as a delinquent director. And yet, the minister under his watch had Mr. Madwaba as the chairman of Productivity South Africa, which fell directly under the minister's purview. He was in control of Mr. Madwaba as his chairman of Productivity South Africa. Now he's saying, no, but he was a delinquent director. He can't trust him. He's making other comments that he's a lawbreaker. It's actually unbelievable what's happened now. They've all fallen out and they're all fighting with each other and accusing each other of nasty things. But whose money? You pay UIF. And you and I both pay UIF. And what is happening to that money?
So the minister, one, arguing that there could have been an agreement that from what I'm reading and what he's saying in his statement, that would have been entered into before his time. So he's almost was coming in with this agreement already in place, and he assumed that all due diligence would have been done. And therefore, for him, he wanted to take time and make sure that it was clearly unlawful before he would have taken any action. That's one of the excuses that I hear him saying. But the other question that is coming up now is whether or not the minister in his capacity can be able to challenge this agreement, which would have been between a private company and the UIF.
Yeah, the minister can challenge it. He's got it in his purview, and he certainly can do that. But it ill behoves him. I mean, that's nonsense that before his time. Yes, it was signed in December last year. But he's been in the seat for over 4 years. And during that 4 years, he would have seen what's going on. He's been a minister before that. It doesn't mean... So when he comes in as the Minister of Employment and Labour, he took over from Minister Oliphant, who would have also known about this agreement. It'd be interesting to see if anyone investigates Minister Oliphant. But the bottom line now is that the minister's known this for almost a year. He's known about it. I've said it to him. I've been one of the parties. I'm not the only one. Many people have been asking the minister what's going on. For the last 6 months, it's getting hot.
Yeah.
And we've been saying what's going on. He's been there. He would have read the agreement. Unless he like one of the former nationalist ministers of finance said, I didn't read the check. You remember that? That's silly argument. And he doesn't read the agreement. 5 billion rand.
So Michael, let's talk about when you were raising the red flags and the concern. What is the concern? Is it the capacity of the company to deliver on this signed agreement? Or as Kosatu says, I mean, this is just literally a blank check that has just been given to this company, a get-rich-quick scheme, so to speak?
Well, a whole lot of things. I mean, we don't have the time for all of this, but the first thing is the company was brand new. I think it was 5 or 6 days old when they signed the agreement, so they had never done any work before. They had no assets, they had no capacity, they had nothing. So now you're asking that company, who's brand new, baby, just been born, and you're giving them 5 billion rand to play fast and loose. The second thing is everyone knew that Mr. Mdluli had been called by the High Court in Cape Town, had been called a delinquent director. He was the chair of Productivity SA. They all knew about it. It wasn't as if this court case was secret. The other thing is he was also the chair of UWC, and he was told by the court that he's not honest. Now, everyone knows about that case. It's a public knowledge. And here we have him, and the minister can't say, I didn't know about all that, because the minister almost a year ago, well, it wasn't that long ago, about 6 months ago, when Mr. Mdluli tried to apply for the post of Director General of the International Labour Organization, the minister opposed that on the basis is he didn't think that Mr. Mdluli was competent because he was a delinquent director. So he knew all this, and yet now he's having fun. Now what Mr. Mdluli has done, he's gone on to X, and he's released some of the WhatsApps, and I think it was tweets, between the minister and himself. There was some social media. It looked like the minister was trying to engage him on some whole lot of stuff. I haven't read all the tweets. But it'll be interesting for all of this to come out in the court case. But to apply now for an urgent interdict and to try and get the agreement cancelled, why didn't government do it a year ago? Yeah. What have they been doing all this time? They're saying they've been investigating. Well, let's have a look at this outcome of the investigation. Why is it secret? The minister didn't want to even show his portfolio committee, which is the eyes and ears of South Africa. The portfolio committees are the eyes and ears of South Africa. They've been kept in the dark. They've been treated like mushrooms. And it's ridiculous. So now when everyone's blaming the minister, he's now suddenly jumped and is running to the court. He told us almost a month ago that he's run to the president and asked the president what to do, but they've had the outcome of their investigation for over 2 months. What have they been doing with that?
But
no judge is going to be very keen.
Would that not be typical, I suppose, then of this administration, where we will now get an answer that says, well, this matter is being investigated and it would be caught up in either an investigation or now would be caught up in a court process, and the minister will be ducking and diving questions around this issue and say, well, it's in the courts.
Well, so will Mr. Mdluli. So I think everyone's going to be ducking and diving. It is typical of this administration. What's happened is that this administration that we have now in government, everything gets bogged down in investigations, court cases, you name it. They get private individuals to have a look at it. You'll get accounting companies to have a look at it. We'll spend another R1 billion on nonsense, and everyone will look at it, and they'll keep looking at it for the next 10 years. In the meantime, the workers of South Africa are suffering. And I'm pleased. I never agree with Kasatu, but I'm pleased they've stood up now and said, actually, this is enough. This is our members' money, and you playing fast and loose with it. It really makes no difference who's the thief, because everyone's complicit. Everyone is not doing anything. We knew Mr. Mdluli was not the individual that could be dealt with in circumstances like that. The minister knew it. He even opposed him in the ILO. So what's he doing with him? The minister appointed him as the chair of Productivity South Africa. Productivity South Africa has left South Africa as the second lowest productivity in the world. Now, everyone's playing the fool. But we're talking about jobs here. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about almost 45% of South Africans can't find a job. These people are starving, and they're having fun with 5 billion and then another 3 billion. But you know what? About 4 years ago, we had an investment from the UIF through the PIC into a company that then went insolvent. We still haven't heard what's happened to that money. It disappeared as well.
Michael?
It's very sad that we're there. Thanks.
Let's leave it there. Much appreciated. Thank you for your time. Legal expert, Michael Bagraim.